around Christmas time, right? You think of Santa and everything. You think of all these stories. I was reading this recently, but this in Siberia, the shamans would collect the Amanita muscaria mushroom, right? And it's symbiotic with fir trees, I guess, and it grows at the base of the trees,
right?
Like presents. Right?
Like presents.
And then they would take these Amanita muscaria and put them in wet stockings over the fire to dry them. What does that remind you of?
Right.
Right. And then, or they'd hang them from the tree like ornaments.
Right.
And these shamans would often wear like little red caps and white outfits and things like that, looking a little bit like Santa maybe.
Right.
The other thing was the reindeer would eat the Amanita muscaria and then do drunken behavior. So you think about a flying reindeer. So all these ideas that we have of like this Christmas being, you know, it could be like, I think there's a lot of elements of like, people call them pagans, but I think there's a lot of elements of like other stories all intertwined there. But the one interesting one is this one's about mushrooms really. And I guess what my wildest dream for the world would be to kind of realize that there's so much more. I don't want to say, hey, just do psychedelics, but like,
no,
you know,
but there's different stories out there.
Well, yeah, there's different stories out there. And maybe some of these things that have been told to us by the government, you know, and by the powers that be aren't the way that they are, you know, because if we're going to question one thing, well, who's to say we can't question the rest of it. Right. And I'm torn on the fence between legalizing drugs or decriminalizing them, or like, you know what I mean? I saw what Portugal did and I really appreciate it. I think one of the things that we need to do is to start looking at decriminalizing it more, because I don't think people should be prosecuted for that. If it becomes an addiction, then they can be helped in that manner.
Right.
But what we're doing in this country is way different, where we're just kind of like feeding the addiction more.
Right.
You know, we set up these centers and it's so strange because I know that I have emotions about it too, about people overdosing. But like, if your friend was cutting themselves, would you give them a safe place to do it and fresh knives?
Yeah.
You know? So it's like,
it's interesting. Yeah. I had a hard time with that lesson or that very topic for a lecture when I taught. I didn't want to have to talk about it because I'm kind of sharing your sentiment in regards to, it's like, should we be doing that, right?
Yeah. Well, some of the people have been following, like Paul Stamets and, you know, Terrence McKenna and stuff, and you just realize that there's like a little more out there to life, right? And I could talk forever about this, but what I'm trying to say is that I think we should start viewing things in a different light. That would be my wildest dream for the world. And that's starting to happen, man. You see that happening in every industry now.